Hello and welcome, friends. Today I'm featuring cards from the Hero Arts monthly card kit for July 2020. This video has 10 cards. In my unboxing video, I said that I would do a process video to show you how I made the aquarium card. I decided not to do that because I want to keep my videos short. And what I'd rather do is for you to comment and let me know which card you'd like me to do a process video on. And then I will do a process video for that card. So please comment below and let me know which card you'd like for me to do a process video on. The card that gets the most votes will be the card that we move forward with. The first card is an A2 card, 1/4 by 5.5. I used the Hero Arts Reactive ink that was in the kit and a Hero Arts Reactive Grape Slush ink. And my favorite things, wonky stitched rectangle die, as well as the Whimsy background stamp, which is a lot of seashells. To start, I used an 80-pound Nina white panel that I stamped the large background stamp on, used white embossing powder and heat set that, and then just took my ink cubes and literally just swiped them in various areas on the card to create the effect that you see here. The mini ink cubes are perfect for ink swiping. I used a white gel pen and my T ruler to add stitched lines around the borders to enhance the card. I also used liquid pearls, Ranger liquid pearls, a few rhinestones from my stash, and 3 of the dies, the crab dies from the kit. On to card number 2. Card number 2 is actually an iPad screen. I initially thought it would be my iPhone screen, but because of the size, it's a 5 by 7 card. My daughter said, "Oh, that looks more like an iPad." And I thought, "Oh, yeah, she's right." So it's an iPad card. This card uses the Hello Friend sentiment from the stamp set and stamps and dies from the stamp set, and the coral embossing powder from the set, and then Lawn Fawn chunky glitter. And then I used my craft knife to cut the slit at the top and use some buttons and galore sequin or rhinestones on the set. I also used the School of Fish from the March 2019 kit. Card number 3 features small stamps from the kit that I used to make a background. I used all of the colors from the kit. I also used colors from a reactive palette that we received in a past kit. I think it was the Mother Earth kit. I used the bubble stamp from the kit to fill in all of the space that was left after stamping the small stamps. After stamping the background, I trimmed it down and matted it to an aqua turquoisey colored cardstock and then onto a white card base. I added a few rhinestones from my stash and some pink and green liquid pearls, Ranger liquid pearls. Now for card number 4. I think this one might be my favorite. This one features sentiment, thanks, you're the best. And this is from a Ranger letter it stamp set. I used all the inks from the kit, Blue Hawaii, Splash, Pool Party, Key Lime Fizz, Taffy, and repeated the stamping, or really just dragging it across at an angle to get a rough blend. I wasn't trying to do, I wanted a rugged blend. After the ink dried, I used a Darice dry embossing folder to emboss the starfish, the shells, the sand dollar onto the panel. I rubbed black soot Distress Oxide ink over the embossed areas just to make it stand out and give it texture. I trimmed it down and mounted it onto a black card base, and I added a few rhinestones, clear rhinestones to it so that they would pick up the coloring from the ink underneath. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I used Shimmer, Sparkle Shimmer Spritz Spray to add a lot of sparkle and shine to this card. I hope that you can see it on camera, but I know that the camera doesn't quite do it justice. I heat embossed my sentiment using VersaFine Onyx Black ink and clear embossing powder. And since this is a black card base, you can, add a white panel on the inside for your sentiment. That's what I will do. Card number 5 features a sentiment stamp from the March 2019 kit, I Would Swim the Seven Seas to Find You. It also features a Hero Arts Reef Border Fancy die and the stingray from that same kit. And then the background is stamped using the 3-layer dies from the current kit. And I used Splash, Pool Party, and Taffy for the coloring. And then I finished off the top portion of the coloring with tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink. And I used a few gems or rhinestones from my stash. I heat embossed the sentiment with Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder and Versamark ink onto a black card panel. And then I cut that out with the banner die. Card number 6 is an A2 card on a Kraft panel that uses the sticker sheets from the stamp set or from the kit, as well as dies from the kit. I cut the stickers with a honeybee diamond die set. And I stamped a sentiment, an ocean full of thanks, with VersaFine black onyx ink and used clear embossing powder to heat emboss that. The sentiment came from the Hero Arts Mermaid Kisses stamp set. I didn't want to add any more sparkle to this card. I think it has enough. Card number 7 features the aquarium fancy die. The background uses Nuvo Shimmer powder in Blue Blitz. So I sprinkled my powder on 80-pound Nina white cardstock and spritzed it with water and quickly used a paper towel to dry up any excess. Because this isn't watercolor paper, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't pooling. I use my heat tool to dry the panel, and then I die cut the octopus, which is from the 319 kit as well. So the octopus, the dolphin, the fish, the seahorse, and the mermaid, all from the sticker paper in the kit. Stamp the sentiment, "You are a fantastic friend." And that came from the March 19 kit. I stamped that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink and used clear embossing powder on that. Then I die cut that sentiment with a banner die. I might go back and add a few rhinestones or bubbles to this card, but that would be it. Card number 8 is a slimline die using Trinity stamp stitch panels and windows die. I used the smallest of the two Trinity dies in the die set to cut out the windows, and I cut 3 inches of the sticker paper in all 3 colors and place those on photocopy paper before I use my Trinity die to cut out the mat. I stamped the layered scene stamp from the kit using Splash, Pool Party, and Grape Slush inks. And then I cut that down so that I could use it for 2 of the scenes. The first scene is the man with the trident, and then a scene from the layered die, the layered stamp. The second scene is the fancy die cut down, and then used the Celebrate Today's Sentiment and stamped that in VersaFine Black Onyx ink with clear embossing powder. And then the last scene is the mermaid and the layered scene stamp. And I finished it off with some rhinestones, added a fish and a dolphin. The dolphin is in vellum. Card number 9 is a slimline card that features alcohol ink. This card measures 3.5 by 8.5. I used the leftover frame from card number 8 to frame this panel and mount it onto a clear acetate card base. I affixed my mermaid to my dual dolphins as if she were riding on them. I added fish, crab, another dolphin, a seahorse. I die cut an oval from the sticker paper and use that as the background for my sentiment. I added a few clear rhinestones from the Buttons Galore mix, and the bottom finished that off with a die, the fancy die from the kit in both black cardstock and vellum. I stamped my sentiment "Hello Friend" on black cardstock and heat embossed that with alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. On the inside, I placed a panel, a cardstock panel that I can write my sentiment on or stamp it. Card number 10 is the aquarium slimline card I featured in the unboxing video. Starting with an 80-pound Neenah white cardstock, I blended Splash ink. I used a Rubbernecker Stamps vertical stripe background stamp and Hero Arts unicorn white pigment ink and stamped that on an angle across the panel. I stamped the pool of fish from the March 19 kit and used Hero Arts sparkle embossing powder to emboss. I affixed some of the Sea Life to the panel and trimmed the panel down to 3 inches by 8.5. I die cut the fancy frame die from the kit twice from vellum. I colored one of them with splash ink from the kit. I stamped the layering die from the kit with Pool Party, Key Lime Fizz, and splash inks, and then placed that at the bottom of my scene and layered that on top of the blue splash vellum and then the clear vellum. Added a man with a trident and a couple of mermaids and the Colosseum building behind it. Make the aquarium. I started with an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of acetate. I trimmed my acetate down to 5.25 by 8.5 inches. I scored my panel at 1/2 inch and then 1 inch down the 8.5 inch side. I flipped it over and did the same thing. I cut 2 3/4 by 6 inch black border strips. I scored the vellum panel for the bottom using the same measurements. I folded and creased the acetate panel as well as the vellum panel, and then I assembled my card. I affixed the aquarium to a folded card base, black card base, and placed a white panel inside for my message. I die cut an octopus from the March 19 kit and placed that on top of the acetate panel. I heat embossed the sentiment "Deeply Grateful for You" using Versamark and a Wow green fluorescent heat embossing powder. Now let's take a closer look at all of the cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which card you like best, and if you have one that you'd like me to do a process video on, leave that in the comments as well. And of course, if you have any questions, leave those below as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, good day, friends.